Hey everyone, I'm Ashleigh Banfield and this is Drop Dead Serious. I've got a big update for you in the disappearance of Lynette Hooker in the Bahamas. So a little bit of public movement today. The United States Coast Guard Investigative Services is poking around and asking the public to help find somebody who might be a witness to whatever it was that happened in Aunt Pat's Bay on April the 4th when Lynette Hooker disappeared. I mean, you've heard the ridiculous story that her husband, Brian Hooker, has told, right? They were on their way back from the bar. She bounced off the back. The waves were too big. It was too much. I just couldn't make it. I lost her. I drifted for 9 hours and ended up 4 miles away. All of it horseshit. But now it's just a matter of proving it, okay? It's a matter of proving it. I personally believe that Brian Hooker and Lynette Hooker made it back to their boat, Soulmate, that was anchored out in Aunt Pat's Bay just off of Elbow Key. And what's so critical here is that there were other people anchored there. Loads of people. It's popular anchorage because it's calm. You don't have 2 to 3 foot seas when the wind is blowing because you're in the lee of the island. And it's called Safe Harbor. That's why it's an anchorage. A couple of things I'm going to show you tonight. First of all, I'm going to tell you what boat this is because I have actually found it. I found the boat. I have the name of it. Coast Guard put out this picture. You couldn't make out what it was, couldn't make out what the boat was, you couldn't make out what the name of it was. Well, now I know what the boat is, and I got a picture that is way better than the U.S. Coast Guard has of that particular boat, the neighbor of Soulmate that night. And they didn't have their AIS tracking on that night. So they were kind of unknown to everybody. But we found them. So I hope the Coast Guard's watching this episode because I'm going to give you some information. And also what I'm going to show you tonight, which I think is so key, is that a friend of Lynette and Brian's, not anymore Brian, but a friend of Lynette's, Blaine Stevenson, he did a little demonstration today that I think is long overdue. It's fantastic. He got into the dinghy, and it's really similar to Brian and Lynette's dinghy, and it was a 20-knot wind, and he had one oar, one paddle, and he did a demonstration to see if little old Blaine could make it back to his boat. And it took less than, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half. Yeah. So you're going to see it in action. You're going to see just how it looks when there's a 20-knot wind. And Brian Hooker swears he just couldn't make it to his wife. The waves and the wind and the currents, there are no currents in there. I've spoken to so many locals about the White Sound Channel and the bone fishing flats that are just on the side that are like ankle deep. Bro, there are no currents in there. So stop with your story. It's nauseating. And you could paddle your boat towards your wife who's floating off into the who knows where. And it's all crap anyway. You were only a couple hundred yards offshore. It's super duper shallow. And your boat was actually only 1,000 meters away. 1,000 yards away. So, again, the story's horseshit. We know it is. Now it's just a matter of picking every single piece of it apart from people who are experienced, who know better than this hogwash that he's doling out to anybody who will listen. And the Bahamian police, I really hope, for the love of Jesus, that you are picking apart everything he has said. Because so far, I don't feel good about what you are doing. I don't feel like you have picked apart every little piece in his story because I'm not going to lie. I think there's probable cause just in his story. Just check the charts, the marine charts, the wind charts from that night. You would not have blown over to Marsh Harbor. You would have blown right onto Lubbers. There's so much to that story that's a lie. The waves were 2 feet high? 2 to 4 feet? No, they weren't. Not according to everyone who was there. Everyone. And the videos that we've actually obtained and shown, how about that? That's a lie. How about just not telling the truth to authorities? Isn't that maybe probable cause? I digress. They let him go. He bounced from the country. I doubt he's coming back. So I'm going to show you that demonstration of what Blaine did. And it is such an incredible joke when you see Blaine paddling away and making it right back to his boat, no problem, against 20-knot wind. And, of course, the waves you would get in a 20-knot wind in an anchorage, because that's where they were. And then there's this. So Coast Guard cherry picks a news organization and sends out a fuzzy, lousy photo. Says, can you put this out? CBS. And we're looking for whoever owns this boat. But they don't know what the make of the boat is. Too hard to tell. I can't see the name on the boat. So it's a real, mystery. Well, thanks for being on Drop Dead Serious instead of CBS, because we actually found the boat and we have a better picture of the boat. And I can tell you right now, thank you to a nice man named Alvaro who enhanced this photo for us. We can tell you that the boat is actually called Azzurra, Azzurra. Why are they trying to find them? This is a better question. Why are they looking for this boat? No, it's not because they had anything to do with it. It's because there were a lot of hinky things that happened on the night of April the 4th. Very hinky. And I suspect a lot of hinky stuff happened on board Soulmate that night. Not what Brian suggests happened 1,000 yards away, north, right? As he was trying to get his dinghy from the Abaco Inn back to Soulmate with Lynette on board, and oops, out she goes, and oh no, I am a former Marine. By the way, I usually say once a Marine, always a Marine, but you, my friend, Brian Hooker, you're not a Marine. You don't espouse any of the virtues of United States Marine Corps. So former Marine. You can't even throw the anchor out of your dinghy? Nah, couldn't think of it. You couldn't jump out into, 5-foot deep water and save this wife that you portend bounced out of your boat where it was calm as glass? Yeah, we checked. The water was calm. Maybe a little ripple by the time you got out of White Sound Channel, but nothing like you were saying. So that's all a lie. You are a big, fat liar if you say there were 2 to 4 foot seas that night and big currents and tides. And then you portend as well that you don't know the tides. I heard you. I heard you talking to Blaine. I heard your phone conversation where you said, I don't really know the tides around here. Really? Because you seem to know flood tides and ebb tides at midnight. Yeah, you accidentally said that to someone else. And we got that communication too. So you know the tides. And the tides were nothing where you said all holy hell broke loose. So you know what I want to ask the owners of that boat? I want to ask the owners of that boat, did you hear anything? Was anything weird? What about the flares that others saw at 8 p.m.? A group of people saw flares at 8 p.m., at least a flare, going up in a normal trajectory, which I find bizarro, because when a flare goes up in the dark sky, everybody sees it. It's like fireworks, and it lingers up there because it's a safety, tool. You need it to linger up there. So it's weird that there aren't more people that saw a flare. But the interesting thing is the folks who did see it, and it was a group of people that was together, right? These people were together and they all saw it. At least 3 of them. And there might have been more. The weird thing was they said this flare came up off of Soulmate. It didn't come from like the dinghy 1,000 yards north where Lynette, fell out. Bullshit. The flare did not come from that. The flare also did not come from the north end of Lubbers where Brian says, and then finally I drifted to the north end of Lubbers and thought maybe I should throw my anchor out and shoot off a flare. Oh my God, it gets worse. Again, to me, that's probable cause right there. Dumbest thing I ever heard. You're just going to float away from Elbow Key and just cross the Sea of Abaco and then think, maybe I'll throw the anchor down and shoot off a flare. Really? Yeah, really? Because that would have been like half an hour. Give me a break. So it's interesting to know if the neighbor boat, Azzurra, if they saw a flare, if they heard any yelling, if they heard any banging below deck or above deck. Did they see a dinghy cross past their transom or their bow heading to the neighbor, Soulmate? Did they see that dinghy being brought up in the davits in the back? Because, a lot of people will tie their dinghies to the back, but people steal dinghies. They do at night. It's like a shitty thing, but they're shitty people. And people steal dinghies. They untie them and they steal them. Some people chain them, but other people just bring them up on the davit. Much harder to steal them that way. Not impossible, but what did Azzurra see? What did Azzurra hear? If anything. They may not know any of this story, but if you're watching and you're in the sailing community, and for the love of God, I know there are so many of you who have been following this because it's a sailor's story. And I know many of you have like glommed onto this and you're following this. And thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Please do me a favor and get on the Coconut Network. Please find the owners of Azura. We want to talk to them. We want to let them know that they're very important cogs in this wheel right now. They may have critical, information for this investigation. They may hold the linchpin. They may say, yeah, it was around 8 o'clock. We were finishing up our dinner and we were like waving to the, Lynette and Brian they were in the cockpit of their Soulmate. By the way, I keep, forever I was calling it a ketch. It's not. It's a 46-foot sloop. My apologies. It's a sloop. I finally figured it out. It's a sloop. Sloop. Sloops usually go up on either end. But so did they notice a couple on board the sloop? Say after 7:45 at night when there should be no couple on board the sloop because hell broke loose, according to Brian. 7:45, they were 1,000 yards away from that sloop and never made it there. She went out. Brian lost a paddle. Couldn't do it. Couldn't make it. Couldn't save her. Threw a floaty swim thing to her, but not even a life jacket. There were 2 in the boat. And then floated for 9 hours to Marsh Harbor. Did they see that? So much that they could be able to offer. Do they have security cameras? Because lots of people do. Lots of people have security cameras on their boats. You know what else some people have? And we think Brian and Lynette had it. Triggered lights. Motion sensor lights. Did their motion sensor lights go off anytime after, say, 7:45, 7:41, 8 o'clock, midnight? Did they notice what the hell, our lights are going off on the bow, which is usually a get out of bed and find out if someone's stealing your dinghy off your davits or whatever else on your boat, right? Or coming for you, because, yeah, that happens. So they could provide a windfall of information. And by the way, if you happen to know this boat, the Azura, Azzurra, if you happen to know the people on board, dropdeadseriousinfo@gmail.com. Tell them we are trying to reach them because they may hold critical clues to a very serious investigation, possibly even a murder, right? Again, dropdeadseriousinfo@gmail.com. Just write it down, hand it to them and say, hey, Americans are looking for you. You might know something important. It takes a village, folks, and we're building it. One by one, we've been getting incredible tips from you, incredible information. I've met so many great people as well. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. I'm not going to say your names because many of you want to stay private, and that's cool. But boy, oh boy, you know who you are and how incredibly helpful you've been in getting the clues that we have found thus far. And by the way, that we have given to the United States Coast Guard Investigative Services, because we're not exactly sure what the Bahamians are doing. We really can't tell. It's odd. Lots of things that I would have expected to happen haven't happened. Like I watched that Brian Hooker fella being released from jail after 5 days of incarceration as a detainee, and he was carrying his watch. Why wouldn't they have kept that watch? There's still an active investigation going on here, and a real hinky story from a guy that smells fishy. Why didn't you keep his watch? It's one of those watches that's rich with data. He walked out of the jail with it. Bahamians just gave it to him. Forensics 101. Please, do your job. So, I want to show you now what Blaine Stevenson has done, because I think it's just beautifully eye-opening, and it just shows how preposterous Brian Hooker's story really is. And again, he swears up and down they'd been drinking all day at Tahiti Beach. Then they went and they had 2 more drinks from 4:30 till around 7:30 at the Abaco Inn. Abaco Inn won't release the video either, so we don't really know what time they left or whether they were fighting or anything else. Abaco Inn being told by the Bahamians that they can't release it. Why? Why is that? Anyway, I digress. They had 2 drinks each. They had Cuba Libres, rum and cokes at the Abaco Inn, 2 drinks each, after having lots of drinks all day down at Tahiti Beach. And that's according to Lynette, because Lynette's mom, Darlene, had spoken with her. And Lynette had told Darlene that they'd been down at Tahiti Beach drinking all day. So the last 2 drinks of the night were from 4:30 to 7:30, 2 drinks each. So I can't say that Brian was hammered, right? It doesn't really make sense. She just bounced out of the boat. I couldn't even know where I was. No, but he told the fire and rescue guys the next day. I just was so confused. I was just so confused. Really? Really? After 2 Cuba Libres in 3 hours? Yeah, you'd been drinking most of the day, but now it's like 7 o'clock at night. You're just so confused. It was bright daylight, fella. It doesn't get dark till 8. So spare me. I was so confused. I was so confused. All they wanted to know was, where did your wife go out? We're trying to find her. What was she wearing? Oh, a black bathing suit. Really? Really? That's it, huh? Because we found pictures of her wearing an aqua bathing suit cover-up, as well as a bright blue scarf on her head. You just neglected to say that to the search and rescuers. Were you not desperate to find her? Clearly not. I wonder why. I wonder why. See where I'm going with this, right? Really, for me, this is all about proving every little thing that he said is preposterous. Because it is. So here he is, trying to paddle, right? Says she's bounced out and I lost one of the oars and the pin broke and off it went. Sure. You're lying about that too, because you didn't even have the seat. You had taken the seat out of your dinghy, and you can't oar unless you're sitting really close towards the back where the pins are, or you'd be on your knees. But the anchor was in the middle of your boat, so you couldn't be on your knees. So how are you rowing with your back to your wife? Spare me. Just any kind of boating person. You don't have to be a skilled mariner to put the pieces together here. And clearly he thinks we're all really dumb, really dumb. And again, I can't reach her, and I'm paddling ex-Marine my ass. You are just a pussy. Because maybe you aren't, but it means you're a real liar, So I want to show you what it looks like to try to paddle against 20-knot winds and the waves that would be churned up in the lee of an island like Elbow Key, because it's an anchorage. It's the reason people anchor there. It's calm in the lee. And they were just 150 feet offshore, according to him. Yards. Let's give him yards. Sorry, 150 yards offshore, according to him. That's what he told the rescuers. So you're 150 yards offshore. That's an easy one, right? But no, couldn't figure that one out. It might have been hip deep water because it's so shallow in that area. But no, couldn't figure that one out either. Couldn't just jump out. Lynette wouldn't just put her feet down. You put a story together real quick in some kind of panic and didn't think through the details, because the devil, man, Lucifer loved living in the details. Devil's in the details, buddy. Should have checked the depth. So I want you to see Blaine Stevenson now, because he did something amazing. Blaine, thank you. I love it that you did this. Blaine has been waking up every single day thinking through scenarios, thinking through possibilities, thinking through fact versus bullshit. Blaine has been a huge help to me. And I want you to see, he has a YouTube channel called Sailing Cameo. And this demonstration is Blaine. And let me give you the specs on Blaine's dinghy, because Brian and Lynette had an 8-foot dinghy. Blaine is a 10-foot dinghy. Brian and Lynette had a rigid, not inflatable dinghy. Oh, Blaine has a rigid, not inflatable dinghy. It's like plastic, okay? It weighs 220 pounds. I don't know the weight of Brian and Lynette's, but I can tell you that the description from the fire and rescue guys as they were towing it was that the wind the next day, way out in the middle of the Sea of Abaco, was kind of like they thought it might get like launched up because it's plastic, right? So Blaine's is not that far off of Brian and Lynette's dinghy. So this demonstration is really apples to apples for the most part, other than Blaine's in a different area. than elbow key. But water's water, wind is wind, waves are waves. So have a look at Blaine's amazing demonstration on just how difficult it is to catch up to your wife and paddle towards her, or how difficult it isn't. Let's talk about what's really in your makeup. Most of us spend a lot of time worrying about what we eat, what we drink, how we take care of our families, but we cake our faces in makeup full of chemicals that we can't even pronounce. Your skin is your body's largest organ, so whatever you put on it, that's absorbed. And it's why I use Toups & Company. Here's what I love. Their liquid foundation and their face primer, they don't just cover your skin, they actually nourish it. Most makeup requires constant touch-ups, or it leaves your skin feeling kind of heavy and clogged, but this stuff feels incredibly light, doesn't cake, and it actually lasts throughout the day. If you're tired of using makeup with mystery chemicals, you don't have to anymore. Simplify your routine and actually feel good about what you're putting on your skin. Head to toupsandco.com/Banfield. They're offering my listeners 25% off your first order with the code Banfield. Again, that's Toups and Co. Let me spell it. TOUPSANDCO.com/Banfield. Toupsandco.com/Banfield. Use the code Banfield for 25% off your first order. You can always just click the link in the description too.
So today we got some high winds, seeing sustained 15 and above. I've seen gusts up to 22. I think as we whip back around here, we'll see that increase. I can feel it picking up. I guess the question is, when we get these high winds, are you able to paddle a dinghy against them? So I'm going to wait for the wind to pick up a bit, set up a tripod, and see how well I do rowing with one paddle. My dinghy is 10 feet. It's rigid. It is not inflatable. It's made out of plastic and weighs about 220 pounds. Yeah, so next shot will either be of me showing the wind up in the 20s, and then after that should be of me paddling a dinghy and seeing how well I do. I do have the engine available to me if I fail, because I do not know the answer to this one. Okay, so I saw 20, so we're staying above 18. So I'm going to go for it. Drop down to 17 there. Or above 15 knots, holding steady. Okay, so there it is. I'm all good, thank you. I'm demonstrating. Was it fun? No. Did 3 boats come out and stare at me? Yes. Is the wind in the 20s? Yes. Make of that what you will.
And did you catch that little bit at the end? This is what's even more beautiful about Blaine showing that demonstration and understanding the mariners community, the boaters community. If you're even in the slightest bit of distress, and this has been for my entire 5+ decades of boating, if you are in the slightest bit of distress and paddling, boaters come to you. No matter where they are, they will jump in a dinghy and cast off, and they will come to you. Are you in distress? Do you need help? If they're driving by, they will veer and stop where they're going and come to you. Nobody ever drives by. It's just not done. And wouldn't you know it, 3 different boats looked to help Blaine as he was paddling for what, 1.5 minutes? I didn't even time it, but it was less than 2 minutes, I think. 3 different people came to his rescue. So Brian Hooker's story of Lynette bouncing off just outside of White Sound Channel, there were boats everywhere. And it was light out. You leave the Abaco Inn at 7:30, and that's the very latest that we've got on the timeline. Could have been earlier. You leave the Abaco Inn at 7:30 with that little dinghy going 4 miles an hour. You're going to be at Soulmate in about 12 minutes. You're going to be at that turnaround from White Sound Channel about 4 to 6 minutes. Okay? And there are houses all the way along. And there are boats all the way along. And there are boats crossing up and down, north and south on Elbow Key, all along the key. You're not going to be having this emergency without anybody seeing you. Loads of boats are just anchored just south of you. Not even, like maybe 500 yards. Maybe. Someone's going to come to your aid. Unless it didn't happen. Yeah. Unless it didn't happen quite the way you say it happened, Brian Hooker. Because I, for one, don't believe a word of what you're saying. Not a word. None of it makes sense. And I felt that way since the beginning, even before I amassed booklets. I mean, I want you to just see the amount of research that I have been gathering on this goddamn lie that you have told. The number of people who have told me facts that do not line up with your fiction, it's immeasurable. At this point, it's beyond reasonable doubt. Beyond. And so I say this again, Brian Hooker, TikTok. TikTok, because people are after you, fella. I don't know what the Bahamians are doing, but lots of people are after you. I'll remind you again, if you know anything, if you have friends who are in the Bahamas and Elbow Key, April 4th, night before Easter Sunday, Saturday night was a beautiful night, drop dead serious info at gmail.com. Drop me a line. Call your friends. If you think you may have surveillance video, security video, forward facing over the Sea of Abaco, looking west to the sunset, at that beautiful sunset, the Saturday night before Easter, if you think you might have video, drop dead serious info at gmail.com. Lots of people have video. Just got to find you, just got to look. Even if you think, well, my video, it's motion censored, so that's not going to capture anything. Well, Easter's a busy time, and that island was packed with people, and lots of people were probably in your home, if not with you, renting it, and it could have been triggered pretty regularly with something in the background. The key evidence in this case could be in the background of something you don't even notice that's happening in the foreground. DropDeadSeriousInfo at gmail.com. And if you know anything else about this story, this case, by all means, drop me a line. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and also do the thumbs up. The like really helps us a lot. And I'd love it if you'd become a member, too. We've got a great little group. I'll see you again in our next episode. In the meantime, don't forget, truth isn't just serious. It's drop dead serious.